Hello, and welcome to our second episode of Creative Glue, another Emergence special, where we speak with a couple of self-confessed festival groupies, or what we call Emergence Aslumni. Will Alexander and Glenn Urquhart will tell us how Emergence has helped to shape their creative careers through the connections that started around a decade ago, right here in the southwest creative corner of WA. So, get ready to hear some dropping of names and cool creative projects, and of course, more about the glue that is Emergence.
Creative glue. Your ideas and my ideas will stick together like glue. 'Cause we've got the creative glue.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Creative Glue, where we'll be continuing to explore both the common bond that brings creatives together, as well as how those bonds form through the Emergence Creative Festival as part of our Emergence specials. Today, I'm chatting with a couple of fellow alumni, Will Alexander and Glenn Urquhart. Now, Wilbur is the co-founder and executive producer at Heckler. He's worked on countless award-winning TV commercials and films throughout his career. He's also known to get busy on the mic from time to time, especially if he's challenged to a rap battle. So welcome, mate. And Glenn, where do we start? Creative director, copywriter, strategist, designer. The list goes on. Working across a massive gamut of the creative stratosphere and throughout the globe with some of the world's biggest brands. They both join us today from Heckler HQ. How are we, lads?
Yeah, good, mate.
Bloody good, mate.
You can just follow me around if you like, and just be my hype man whenever I walk into a shop or a bar. Just say that.
Love that. Just give me a call anytime. No worries. So I thought, with the being an Emergence special of Creative Glue, I thought I'd kick off with sort of how each of you managed to get involved or conned or roped into this thing called the Emergence Creative Festival in the first place.
G'day. So I got the tap from a dear mate of mine, Ben Akers, who was one of the original Emergence Aslumni. I think he was probably the keynote speaker or MC or something. Anyway, he was there in the first.
Been both.
Hey?
He's been both.
There you go. We do wear a lot of hats at Emergence, as I'm sure will come out later in this podcast. But Ben Akers was a legendary creative director at Droga 5. We'd worked together extensively on a bunch of great campaigns. The Vanilla Ice Right Music Wrongs for Virgin Mobile was probably the funniest and won us a bunch of awards. And really, that was the big one that kind of put him on the map down under. He left Droga to then go and work in an ethical ad agency. And we did a lot of great work for Greenpeace and other really proactive ideas for good together. And I think he was probably over there when he came over. And then he went on to set up an amazing men's mental health and suicide prevention program called Talk Club, which I then became the Sydney chapter leader down here, and we've run that for years. So in a very kind of roundabout kind of a way, Emergence played a big part in all of that, and I think really galvanized that relationship for us, and we're still dear mates and creative collaborators and do some good stuff in the men's mental health space together.
Yeah, well, we're without giving too much away, we're going to definitely be chatting with Benny Akers. There's a recent outcast that I've done with him, so and Maddie Lewis. So we're going to be definitely exploring some of those things, and there's obviously many of these cross relationships that have happened through Emergence or been set up through Emergence. So, and I'm presuming the whole rap battle at 2 a.m. Might have had something to do with your Vanilla Ice experience, mate.
I think he's one of my influences. I wouldn't say he's my main influence, but look, maybe I can do a shout out to Ice Ice Baby. I don't know if I don't know if I've gone there, but maybe this year, Scotty. You never know.
Right. We might have to get that happening. We've just got to get it recorded this time. That's all.
Awesome.
Glenn, mate, I mean, how did you end up at Emergence?
I was doing the speaker circuit for Promax, which is a broadcast and media promotions conference that goes around the world, like from LA, New York, Joburg, Mumbai, Sydney, and I was on the Promax bus and I was talking over in Auckland, and one of your fellow alumni, Nicole Vellick, I think, who was a speaker at one of your earlier Emergence, kind of put me onto you guys and put me onto Matty. And I'd never heard of it, but I'd heard Nicole sort of waxing lyrical about it, and I just thought I'd give it a go. And I think the year I was there was with Will, and met him on the way over, and Lee Hunter from Google as well. And it was such an incredible crowd, and hit it off with Will immediately, and we've become sort of long-time collaborators ever since. After that, everything from Glastonbury to Burning Man to commercials up the wazoo, and giant experiential things for News Corp. So it's been a really fruitful sort of platform to connect with people. Even Lee Hunter as well, I'm still in touch with, and have got involved in a few startups with him as well, helping him from everything from Bitcoin delivered bloody bourbon casks, to crazy startups he gets involved in. They're amazing. But it's Emergence just has blown my mind, and sort of I think I've become a bit of an evangelist for the place as well. Like I ended up getting a lot of broadcast and ex-Foxtel mates over from Carly Heaton, who came over and did a drama workshop, and she's now just won an Emmy, I think, for Heartbreak High. So she's killing it at the moment. But she came over and did a drama workshop with you guys over there, and Jens Hertzen from Auckland over there, and running his little creative agency. He's been over and sort of waxing lyrical over there. So it sort of continues to spread. You kind of you drag more and more people into the whirlwind that is Emergence, and then they go off and spread the gospel really. So it's been amazing, and it continues to give, and I can't wait to get back there really.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, it's not the first time I've heard people saying that they can't wait to get back, and it's certainly something I know that's been missing in the industry in terms of an event. So there's a lot of hype to get 24 back, and a lot of hype about 2025 as well. So people are already talking about next year. We haven't even got this year out of the way. So I reckon that's a pretty good sign.
Totally, mate.
Faux Vanilla Ice headline act with Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like this already. So, I mean, throughout the years, I've heard people talk about how different Emergence is as a festival, and you've obviously been to a ton of events across the globe. From your perspectives, what is it that you think makes Emergence different?
Everything would be an understatement, really. My experience of Emergence, obviously Glenn and I got off the plane together, never met each other, drove for 3 hours through buttfuck nowhere to get to one of the most pristine, magical, creative, welcoming, kind of fertile ground, which is Margaret River, you could ever imagine, which then just completely transports you into another kind of place, I think, very quickly. You feel it coming in, and I don't think that's like other festivals. There's something truly unique about the landscape and the people, and there's something in the water down at Margs that, there's something very alive about it. So, and because you're so fucking far away, I think you drop your guard a bit coming in, and you don't know what to expect. That's particularly my first year, and Matty dropped me off. He said, right, we're going to there's a workshop happening out somewhere beautiful at some estate, and didn't tell me anything more than that. Also didn't tell me that I'd be running the workshop, which I would have been completely unqualified for, but I think someone else had dropped out, and so suddenly I became the music video photography and music workshop guy, and got dropped out to this pretty as a picture kind of landscape with a whole bunch of uni kids with their GoPros and DSLRs, and 2 bands. And some women on medieval horseback came thundering over a hill, and that became the backdrop for what was our first collaboration, which was the first Emergence music video production, which would have been a world first, of nymphs in the forest and warring sisters on medieval horseback, set to some beautiful acoustic folk and rock and roll. So it was a bit of a mashup. Yeah.
That band was genuinely good, and like you ran off to do this workshop, and I sort of followed behind, and I turn up, and there's a couple of Range Rovers sort of zigzagging, belting it across the field. I think, or cameraman hanging out of a window with horses thundering by a band.
Yep.
I was like, what the sweet fuck is going on?
Yeah.
It's brilliant, and everyone just was thrown in and created absolute magic. And then we threw it all together in the edit suite, and it shows on the last night. And it's just there's so many little pop-ups like that happen that you're thrown together with cross-discipline, cross-industry, amazing creative collaborators. And I think it was something that you said the other day, Will. It was because it's so far away, and most other conferences, they tend to be in hotels, in conference centres, in lobbies, in the middle of the city. And I think you said if there's permission to let go there, it feels like you're on the edge of the world. One, it's beautiful, and there's just no pretension around there, I think. And it's permission to let go, permission to just have ideas and get involved, and and not be so sort of staid and overtly networky in a hotel lobby. Do you know what I mean? And and in addition to that, there's all these creative exhibitions and pop-ups from art, from music to photography. Even if you're not specifically partaking or collaborating, you're surrounded by it anyway. Do you know what I mean? And then there's all the talks as well. So it's just bonkers.
I think there's something quite infectious about that as well. So even if you hadn't planned to partake in any of the workshops or collaborations, by the end of, I reckon there'd be almost no one that could have said that they had come in, done their speak a bit, and got out. It was like you get drawn into it, and by the end of it, you're in the creative corner jamming with some people doing a graffiti can art, whatever.
Yeah.
Somehow you're involved in that as well, completely off the cuff, unexpectedly, and you roll your sleeves up, and before you know it, you're part of the gang. And I think there's something really humbling about that, really galvanizing about that, and even the most kind of seasoned kind of keynotes end up dropping their guard, which is, I think that's the uniqueness of it, that you kind of get, there's something endearing and warm about it and welcoming and collaborative, and you can't help not roll your sleeves up because you want to muck in and have a go. And I think that's really special and very, it's a lot more, the vibe's totally different to just a big show. It's much more a collaborative festival, arts community-based show with no airs and graces, and you kind of stumble into it and have these incredible experiences. And the more you kind of contribute, the more you get out. I think the richer it is.
I could feel the the layers of cynicism just sort of melting away up there. Do you know what I mean? We're all in the industry, and you're cynical fuckers. Emergence is like the opposite of that talk you go to and it's audience participation. You can literally hear everyone just groan and go, oh, God. Do you know what I mean? It's the opposite of that. It's just you're surrounded by this, by this creativity, and you want to get involved, and it's just bloody lovely.
I heard a few people groaning when I was trying to give my talk. It was just out of pain.
Trying to slide the USB in the side of the Mac.
Trying to get you talk to bloody work, mate.
It took a whole audience. It literally took what is it? Takes a village to raise an idiot.
It takes a village. Basically, yeah.
Please help.
But I think it's such a common theme that I hear about Emergence is that almost we've often talked about the lack of a green room, zero VIP treatment. It's like you get lunch with everybody else, and I think there's something special about escaping the industry side of things and just getting back to the heart of what it is that we actually love to do, which is be creative with one another and experience that with other creative people. And there's something about Emergence that brings out that quality in everybody that ends up rocking up, and I think that's one of the reasons why people are so free to just give, because everybody's actually going back to their roots of what being creative is actually all about.
And it's the venues as well, mate. All the wineries, and then the double-decker bus that ferries you there. It's like you're on a bloody school trip or something. Niggering at the back, and it's great.
So, I mean, are there other collaborations that you guys have ended up being involved in that have germinated from Emergence? I mean, you've touched on a few, Wilbur, as well, and I mean, what sort of stuff has cropped up as a result of
Glenn
being
mentioned a
part of it?
couple of huge ones. Obviously, Burning Man in 2018 and Glastonbury in 2019. I think they're like big kind of, it doesn't get much bigger than those two, and more experiential and experimental, both in terms of the event and also the process in
Oh my
how
god.
we got there. And very much in that emergence kind of style. It was, we were literally building a bridge as we were driving across it, and we got there. And they're incredible. So they're the two big things I think we've done in the public art or festival space that was super, using Unreal Engine and new media technology and multiple laser systems and generative kind of, art at the forefront of kind of art, music, and culture. Glastonbury being the world's biggest festival, and Burning Man being the kind of mecca of, anti kind of establishment kind of cool. I think we smashed those. They were big together, and then some very big corporate stuff at News Corp as well, like massive upfronts, and loads of other ads and bits and bobs in between. I think the other big collabs that have come out for me, Jimmy Nichols and Skin Check Champions. We've been involved in that since day one. He was another one, I think, in year one or year two. He came out and spoke. So that was a beautiful collab that has been going on today. The Birds of Tokyo, they came up and we set up a studio together here in Sydney for a bit. They've since moved on, but we got those boys out 1 year, and that was a hoot. Great collabs with Angus Kingsmill and Radio Velvet. I'm still working with Richard Bullock. He's in, he was doing his podcast in, director Richard Bullock. He was in doing a commercial here for Pacific Rugby last week when he did his podcast, and he's been helping mentor me through some long format stuff. We've done some award-winning doco stuff together since then. And Melinda Wink as well, who now runs Mindaroo Pictures. We've worked with her. We're doing the new brand work for Mindaroo Pictures, and the list just goes on and on. But they're like pretty phenomenal list of people that they're just the ones off the top of my head. If you scratch the surface a bit further, there'd be loads more. But they're the key relationships that we've built throughout this that have all stemmed directly through Emergence.
Yeah, which is brilliant. I mean, because how old was Heckler when you first came to
No
Emergence?
idea.
Because Benny's talked about being there on day one,
Yeah.
seeing you rock up at the I think it was the Republic of Everything in a Spare Spot or
Yeah.
something insane. He remembers Heckler day one,
Yep.
but because Heckler wouldn't have been very old at that
2010 we
stage, would
launched
it?
Heckler, so do the math.
Yeah. So, so massive, opportunities that you've been able to take from that, and obviously grown an incredible business, mate, and had some incredible,
Mm.
collaborations, which is awesome to
Yeah.
hear. I mean, Glenn, what about you? What sort of stuff
Yeah,
have you done?
same. Look, I think Heckler's been the most fruitful, and then stuff with Lee Hunter and Angus as well, and briefly with Melinda, and then Kylie Robertson was one of the speakers that was there when I was there, but I haven't heard much from her for a while. But we got involved briefly.
Oh, well, you'll have to tune into a future episode of Creative Glue, mate.
Yeah, look, do you know one of the funniest things was just to show sort of these weird connections that creatives have, because I'm such a nerd, and I remember doing my talk, and it turned out both Kylie and I, when we did our talk, had exactly the same obscure picture of a Commodore 64 tape cassette in our presentations. And we were like, no way! It was this weird little, oh my god, I thought I was the only one.
I love you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember. For me, it's sort of been, like I said, I've been evangelizing and dragging more of my colleagues and friends over, and just before it's, COVID hit, I was starting to get the Foxtel alumni over. So I think it's mainly been through Will and slightly with Angus, because I helped out on the Angus Vivid bits and pieces with Radio Velvet. But it's just kind of staying in touch with them. And I know Lee's now. Is Lee coming back on the podcast? Because he's gem of TikTok now, isn't he? APAC.
Look, another one that we should talk to, because he's a fellow West
Yeah.
Aussie boy as well. So that was a great part of getting Lee back to the West, and and exposing the fact that, just because we do live in the middle of nowhere on the West Coast, wait a while, sometimes, as it's known, you know, Lee has obviously done amazing global things, and it's a great way to showcase
Yeah,
that opportunity, that just because you're here doesn't mean that you can't go
yeah,
and work for some of the biggest global entities in the world.
Totally.
It was with Google when he came over, but I mean, now, as you say, I don't know whether he's with Twitter or X
it's
or
like,
whatever they
I know.
want to call it this
But
week.
and there is, like we've said, there is something in the water, because the quality of talent that comes out of Perth and Freo and down in the Moa River is just crazy. Like, what are they feeding you guys, man?
Yeah, man.
Well, there's a reason we call it the Creative
Yeah,
Corner.
it really is.
So there is a magnetism to this part of the world. There's no doubt
Definitely.
about it.
And there's something
And
that's
you guys get
completely
to feel
unique
it
and
when you get here.
unmistakable. Once you just got to get over there and actually feel it. It's hard to sort of, talk about it in a way, because until you actually, immerse yourself in it, and you've tasted everything, then it's, you just got to get over there and experience it. So encourage everyone to get ticks for this year and get down to Margs.
And
Most
I would
definitely.
add, this is a little addendum to the other thing, in Heckler, starting in 2010, and I think when it was 2016 or 17 when you and I were there, I can't remember. But I would say, look, I was in full-time work at Foxtel, but not long after Emergence, I went freelance, and honestly, the connections I made there through Will and everyone else, like, it kind of changed the trajectory of my career. Like, I couldn't have timed it better, with all the contacts that I made out there to kind of kickstart a really fruitful freelance, consulting and creative career. Like, it was, the contacts I made there were incredible.
Yeah, unreal. And what are some of those memories, I guess, for you guys? Like, if you had to think back at some highlights from Emergence, what springs to mind?
I definitely think. I mean, I love Glenn's talk. It was one of the best talks. And we knew straight from getting off the plane we were going to hit it off. But hearing Glenn's talk was phenomenal, and I think seeing the crowd reaction. I think Melinda Wink also was one of the standout speakers, and slightly intimidating. Chatting to her, going up to her afterwards, and then finding out she's the warmest, loveliest, most generous person in the world. But the fierce intellect of her was, truly incredible. And I think we all hit it off straight after. So many highlights, really, and so many of those. The diamond skulls down in that little elephant cafe or whatever, and dolphins popping up and chucking people from overseas in shark-infested waters and doing a surf comp, and just the diverse range of it all. But then foraging night dinners and all the stuff that Chelsea did with Fairfax was incredible. And the generosity and the spirit of the place is, I think that's the big outtake for me. And you find it everywhere, from a little workshop at Creative Corner through to the opening night and the incredible speakers in between. It's super rich, it's super inclusive, it's eye-opening, it's inspiring, and there's a warmth and a humbleness, and it's something so unexpected about it all they're the lasting kind of memories of it all. I think one last thing, when we did that music video for that young local kid, and we brought I Manifest, the charity over that helps that we've both been involved with. That's another thing.
Oh yeah,
the I Manifest crew with Jonah Prettyman. And there was a big workshop we ran over there for underprivileged kids they created yet another music video for a local musician with Noah Shulkin. I think he was producing for him, and we created this beautiful video one year that got released, and too many things to count, but they're just some of the key highlights from me, key memories.
And for those that don't know about I Manifest, can you just elaborate on that? Because I think it's such an amazing
I
thing.
Manifest took largely refugee children in low socioeconomic parts of Sydney, who a lot of them come out of detention, and then introduced them to the creative industries. So kids that would otherwise not have those opportunities or those resources, available to them, and we'd run these workshops where we'd partner them up with key creative studios, agencies, and even brands like Apple came on board for things like that as well. And we would run these intensive workshops with keynote speakers and mentors. Like Glenn would come in and he'd take a class through, and they'd go through a program, and at the end of it, they would have completed. It's like a work experience placement where you actually create something. It's not just a series of talks. It was hands-on, very much in the emergence kind of mold where we, roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty. We took it to Vivid 1 year. We've taken it to Emergence another year. So, and the results that, a lot of these kids have come from very traumatic situations in war-torn or impoverished countries, and they're fleeing their homes. And often their parents didn't see creativity as a legitimate career path or even a vocational pastime, I suppose. And I think seeing the dads come down and look at their daughters who'd done stuff at Vivid 1 year and be, tears of joy and pride to see what they managed to create, I think changed a lot of views, old school kind of conservative views about what creativity really is. And we bust them all in from Villawood or wherever they were coming from to see it on the big stage at Vivid. And I think there wasn't really a dry eye in the house. And
It's phenomenal.
a lot of those things and a lot of the alumni were part of that team who helped support iManifest as well. So again, all that synergy and all that collab and the generosity of the guys to come in and give up their time and expertise to help people in this little charity organisation do a lot of good in the world was amazing.
That was and that's another thing. There's so many collabs that you just forget. I've forgotten all about that. And like that, it was an audio-visual project called Transcendence at Vivid, and it was a bunch of girls from Liverpool High, and they were. I ended up bringing in a composing agency that I worked with over the years called Groove Q in Sydney to help produce and compose this audio for the audio visuals that we were doing for iManifest. And talking about sort of collaborations and things that kind of extend beyond Emergence, some of the girls that were used in that that worked with Groove Q I ended up hiring for when I was doing a huge rebrand for Foxtel for the whole brand music. I ended up hiring them again, bringing them in to do these sort of core harmonies with Groove Q, and now they're regular collaborators with Groove Q. So they haven't even attended Emergence, but they've benefited and flourished from Emergence, from being brought together and used together like that. It was incredible.
It does show that germination process, and then those seeds and linkages and connectivity that starts to happen. That I guess talks to the importance of festivals like Emergence to create those opportunities and to germinate and foster those things, not necessarily to create the outcomes, but to just start, poke, prod, put two people in a car for 3 hours on the way to Margaret River, and you just never know what's going to happen.
A whole lot, and that was literally that. We got off the plane and bumped into each other, and then you fast forward 7 years or whatever it is. It's like bloody hell. It's it's a massive.
Didn't someone lose their luggage? Was that
Was
that what happened?
I mean, we missed the flight. Emergence.
Yeah.
It was my fault.
That was Glenn's fault.
I might have insisted we stay up late, and then we overslept. I spent the whole next day trying to get. But then I think we ended up staying, but I ended up driving back on my own, and I was driving back at about 10 o'clock at night, like the 3-hour journey, and I had one of the most awe-inspiring shits of my entire life next to the freeway. I had to pull over because I was in the middle of nowhere. It was dark. I was shitting in the field, and I had to use my least favourite T-shirt. I remember just sitting in the field thinking, please don't get bitten by a snake. But I was looking up at the Milky Way. And it was just, I was like, God, this is lovely, isn't it, really? I mean, it was a really nice...
You don't get that in Sydney, mate.
He left me back in Margaret River. I was in a lot of trouble.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, there's those sorts of adventures. Look, one thing I'm been talking to people about is what the secret is that brings and keeps creative people together. Well, like what is that secret ingredient in the creative glue? for you
Do you know
guys?
what it might? Do you know? I was literally just thinking about this, and we were talking about permission to let go and creative, and being creative is about sort of taking risks and doing that. I think initially to take the risk to end up going, but let's just go to Margaret River then. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so out of the way and it's such
Yeah.
not a normal thing to do. I think the type of person that would be like, yeah, fuck it, all right, let's go and do it. It's kind of like probably one of the first hurdles, and maybe that's a part of the magic, in finding the time, finding the impetus to go and take a risk and see what this is all about. Really, do you know what I mean? But beyond that,
Yeah.
I think it's the location. I think it's the people that end up going there, and I think it's the sort of organized chaos and looseness of the entire experience that ends up kind of germinating these things. You're all out of your comfort zone. Everyone's out of the comfort zone, and everyone's sort of feeling their way, and that's kind of where the magic happens. I think, literally.
I think it's
And is that something you feel you continue to take from that and,
Yeah.
feed into your collaborations and feed into the way that you go about, your creativity
I
moving
think
forward?
so as well, and I love the fact that Emergence, if you've been involved one year, they never make you do the same thing twice. So it's not like you keep getting on the bus and doing the same talk over and over again. You've done talks, I've done workshops, I've been an MC there, and God knows what they're going to get me to do next. I'll just be a waiter. I don't mind.
we, we need someone to hand out lunches this year,
Perfect.
mate. If
I'll be a dinner lady. I don't.
need all the help we can get, mate.
it's a very good point though, because it is, everyone mucks in, and I think that Matty Lewis is particularly good at sniffing out those that he can sort of enlist to kind of, the workshop, the music video workshop is just one example that kind of went down in an Emergence kind of Hall of Fame moment. But honestly, it was like that unexpected thing. It's like, hey, can you do this? And like, yeah, great, got it. And you just figure it out. And I think creativity is all about solving problems, and Matty's pretty good at creating a few. And also providing this, look, the framework, and I'm just having a go. I'm just taking the piss out of him because he's a mate. But really, the amount of work and
We love
stuff
him.
that goes into setting up the right environment for creativity to flourish is no joke, right? Like there is a method to the madness, and even though the way it all unfolds out is chaotic in a lot of aspects, to provide the infrastructure, the framework, and the right ingredients for creativity to blossom he's incredibly strategic, and he's thought through a lot of it. And even though he'll drop you in and push you out of your comfort zone a bit, I also think that's what that sparks creativity and inspires,
Yep.
and the quality of speakers and people that have attended, and the collaborations, and also getting the young local people involved. Like there's something so nice about kind of being involved with young creatives, and I think you can really feel their energy, and they're looking to us for inspiration. But I get, they give way more back to me, and it's like, just in that music video example, we all sat down, we kind of butcher's papered it, workshopped it over a couple of beers, and someone playing a guitar, and someone had a camera, someone had this, someone had that, someone knew a great big tree over there, and suddenly it was like, it just kind of happened, and before you knew it, we had a full-blown production out of nothing.
Crews, didn't we? Look at the production line that Matty sort of, we all ended up pulling together. Like you had the kid, you had Noah producing the music, you had two camera crews shooting the video, you had the guy who did the bloody Prodigy album artwork doing his album cover, and like this local kid just ended up getting like some of the best creators in the world to just make a video, produce his song, and get his album artwork out. It was bonkers. It was one weekend.
Yeah, that doesn't, and that's the other thing, the immediacy of it. Like we're presenting that stuff out on the end night. Like you don't see very much.
Yeah.
No, my God.
You run.
And that was something, like I think you guys probably were there that year where we actually had the closing piece at Driftwood in the amphitheater, and I was side of stage with Toddy Delph, actually helping him just put together the final edit, and we were taking shots from people on the dance floor and things that were happening. Dallas Royal was playing, edited in there, and then Matty did his speech, and then we dropped this video that literally rendered 30 seconds before we pushed it up onto the screen. Like, who does that shit? Like, it just, it doesn't happen anywhere
No,
else.
Yeah.
it certainly doesn't.
You know?
Yeah, you're in the maelstrom then, aren't you? But I remember seeing that video and going, they just literally shot that 20 minutes ago. What the hell? It's amazing.
Yep. It was amazing. It blew people's heads, you know, and I love that. I love that. So look, before we wrap this up, I want to try and help out some emergence first timers, and I'm looking for some top tips when coming to emergence. What would you tell someone that's never been before? Maybe an emergence virgin.
Oh, an emergent.
An emergent. Look, just expect the unexpected and just go with the flow. You know, it's all a bit cliched, but really, it's just immerse yourself in it, rip in. It'll just let it happen to you as well. Don't have expectations going in. I think is the best thing, and just watch the the emergence unfold before your eyes. Go to as many things. Say good day, shake as many people's hand, and you just never know where that journey is going to lead you, because it'll be unique, it'll be wonderful, and you'll meet some of the best people that you would never have expected. So expect the unexpected. There you go.
Yeah. Don't be scared. And I think, you know, for all the introverts going, you know, who don't want to sort of shake hands and say hello, just smash lots of coffee and just say hello. Just suck it up, waft around and soak it all up and just be prepared to get involved. Like Will says, roll up the sleeves.
Have a go. You know,
Yeah.
just get amongst it. If you have a go and let your guard down, rip in, you'll have the best festival of your life. And it is more of a festival than a creative showcase or kind of an awards thing. That's all part of it too, but none of it's taken too seriously and it's all done in jest. And just get amongst it and you'll have the best time and an unforgettable time.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you so much for you guys joining us today. That's all for this episode of Creative Glue. But join us each week in the lead up to Emergence for more alumni guests and stories that bring people and creatives together. If you haven't already, hop onto the Emergence website, emergencecreative.com, and make sure you get yourself a pass. If you've been before, you know it's not to be missed. And if you haven't, well, you've just heard the reasons why you should be there. And we're very thankful that it's back for 2024, and I certainly can't wait. Okay, Lucy, who's joining us on Creative Glue next week?
So next episode, we're featuring two photographers, David Der Parker and Martine Perret, whose love story is as powerful as their work. David, a Perth-based photojournalist and Walkley Award winner, has captured pivotal moments in history from the Middle East to East Timor, with his work featuring in prominent publications worldwide. He has also worked extensively in film, television and the performing arts. Martine, originally from Paris and now capturing the breathtaking landscapes of Western Australia, brings a unique artistic touch grounded in her extensive photojournalism background. With a decade spent on UN peacekeeping missions in conflict zones like South Sudan and West Africa, where she covered the Ebola crisis, her work blends deep storytelling with visual beauty. So thanks again for making space, and keep an eye on our socials for more detail and the next episode where we chat with David and Martine about their very own creative glue. Another Emergence special.